everyone, it's Tana. Welcome back to the channel and another video for the rabbit hole designs. So I'm showing you here some more stuff from the new release. Well, I showed you in the last video, but this is stuff that I hadn't gotten a chance to work with yet, at least on film for you guys. So I want to try to use most of it today. So first we're going to make some backgrounds here. So we have the garden trellis stencil. And I'm just taping that to a piece of heavy cardboard. And I'm using shimmer powders here, so I'm putting the names up on the screen. And I'm sprinkling a little bit of each. Now, I don't have my Tim Holtz Distress Sprayer any longer. Jackson broke it. It's the second one he has broken. So I'm using my hand and a regular water sprayer currently. And it doesn't work as well. That stream it either drips straight down the bottle or comes out super strong. So I decided to just go with adding the water on with a paintbrush, which maybe worked out a little bit better in the long run. So here I'm just painting my color on, and I'm trying not to use so much water that it leaks under the stencil because it's a very delicate stencil. In the end, you can see that it worked in some spots, not so much in others, but I do come up with a different way to use this background. So there's the first one. I also did a solid one with shimmer powder. And now I'm going to try to emboss with my stencil, but using the leftover from the shimmer powder. That kind of worked, but there wasn't a lot of shimmer powder left on the stencil, so then I wanted to try to emboss with ink on the stencil. Now, I did it this way first, and as you can see here, did not turn out so well. I kind of double stamped and slid. So with this one, I'm going to do a little bit different. I laid paper down on the base of my die cutting machine, then I laid down the stencil. I taped the stencil down with some purple tape, added the ink, and then I took this solid shimmer powder panel and added that on the top. And this one came out so much better, you guys. I actually love the way that panel turned out. It's one of my favorites from this video. And then I went back in and inked it again and took a slimline panel, ran that through the die cutting machine. So first I'm showing you here, I did not end up using this panel, but I did go over it with some Melon Ice ink by Catherine Pooler, even though, I didn't end up using it, like I said. For this one, I'm going in with some pixie dust. I believe it was pixie dust ink, and covering the background of that panel after reapplying the stencil, because we don't want to cover up the blue ink that I had previously put on. And then I'm putting some splatters on with some drive-in re-inker. And then I also added Imagine Crafts Frost Spray and Avery Elle's Clear Shimmer Spray. And heat set that all before I took the stencil off. And then I broke out my Rabbit Hole Designs Galaxy paper pack. And I'm going to trim this panel down a little. Actually, I already trimmed it down. I was seeing how wide that strip of white was, because that's what we're going to cover up. And then I trimmed down the panel that I thought went best with the colors I chose for the center. Added some double-sided adhesive to both ends and placed my galaxy paper at the end there. Now I did draw pencil lines because the stencil did go on the panel a little crooked, and I wanted to make sure that the paper went on straight. So I measured it out and drew very light pencil lines to keep the pattern paper straight. Then I took this Tidal Wave iridescent mirrored cardstock from Tonic, and I'm going to cut the center out and use the outer edge as a frame for our card panel. And we'll glue that right on there with some Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. Now when I added that purple to this panel over the blue overlapping circles, I wasn't sure if this card was going to turn out. But I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I cut the word birthday out of the same iridescent cardstock and put it on a piece of vellum as the shadow for the word. And now we're going to use a black card base and pop that whole panel up on foam tape. And I'm going to choose a sentiment to go with it, and I'm going to stamp that out on the same galaxy paper that I used on the ends. I wasn't sure at this point if I wanted to use gold or silver embossing powder, so I stamped both out. And actually, I stamped each out twice and heat embossed them because I did it this way, and then I did my best to make sure my die was straight when I cut out the sentiment strip, but they both cut out crooked. So the second time around, I cut the sentiment strip, even though it's a little bit harder to place your stamp on there, and did it that way so that my sentiment was straighter. And I ended up going with the gold embossed because I use silver a lot, so I wanted to switch it up. Popped that sentiment strip up on foam tape and added a little bit of glue to it before I popped it up on the panel. Then I took some of the gold confetti sequins out of a Rabbit Hole Designs sequin pack and added them to the card front. Now for the second card, we're going to take that shimmer powder with the embossed overlapping circles, and this is a very antique version of a decal edge trimmer. I got that from my grandmother. I'll never get rid of it. I love it. And it does the deckled edge. So I did the decal edge on all four sides, and just, there's no real measurements on that thing anymore, so I just kind of trimmed a tiny bit off of each side. Popped it up on foam tape, and now I'm going to use this very sparkly paper. Now the shadow is cut out of white, and the word happy is cut out of a pink of the same type of cardstock. And I popped up that word happy with 2 pieces of white 120-pound cardstock behind it. And now on the inside, I'm going to choose my selected sentiment, but I curved it around my smiley face. And I used some Catherine Pooler Do-Si-Do to kind of match the pink of the word happy. And we'll place that inside the card before we add our happy. And I must have lost that footage because it's not here anymore. Sometimes that happens. Added some pink sparkled enamel dots. And on the inside it says, I forgot what it says, guys. I'll have to look and tell you. And now I'm going to use a panel that I had ink blended off camera with the garden trellis stencil. And I'm going to line up my Nicole Upper Alpha dies with the word congrats. And at first I was just going to cut these willy-nilly out of that panel that we used the shimmer powder on with the garden trellis stencil, so we could have different colored letters in that slimline panel. And then I decided, why not make 2 cards for the price of 1? So I rearranged the word congrats so it looked good on a regular A2 size panel, and I cut those out as well. And then we're going to switch out the letters. The dark ones into the lighter panel and the lighter ones into the darker panel. I'm going to use some 2-inch wide double-sided adhesive on the back of both of my panels so that we can inlay the letters without having a problem. And here I am laying the letters in. It's going to bug me that I don't remember what the inside of that happy card said. And now I'm going to do the darker letters. Now I kept the insides of like the O and the R the same color as their background panels, and just put the darker letters in. Now I'm going to use some of this water sprite mirrored iridescent cardstock, and that's going to be a frame for this smaller A2 card. And I did this on a silicone mat, so I was able to peel this up after I carefully placed it on its frame. Probably would not have worked as well if I was using the glass mat. And then I popped that one. I believe I popped that one up with foam tape, but it went awfully quick. I didn't see it. And this one went flat to the panel itself, a white card base. but that smaller one was popped up on foam tape. And then on the inside of the slimline card, I put congrats to the happy couple, or to the new couple. I think it's to the happy couple. And then in the smaller card, we put on the new job. And that's it for this video, guys. Hope you like what you saw here today. I loved September's release. I made a ton of cards between the two videos and the release days. Don't forget to look on the Rabbit Hole Designs Instagram and see lots of inspiration. And we will see you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.